I think if everything were to be taken away tomorrow, I would want people to just remember, the time we had together here laughing, enjoying each other's company, and also just the progress that they made and just, the value of their time. So I got into training at an early age. Both of my parents were really into fitness. My dad was a competitive bodybuilder and my mom was an aerobics instructor and a dancer. And I got into action sports at a young age, so skateboarding, surfing, and snowboarding. And then when I got to college, just kind of not being able to do all those things led me to find the gym. When I was a junior, originally my plan was to be a physical therapist, and I just got so involved in training and I loved it so much that I decided to kind of pivot and pursue strength and conditioning full time. I opted out of physical therapy school and then I went into training and performance. My name is Decker Lindsay. I'm the owner of Decker Lindsay Strength and Conditioning in East Hanover, New Jersey. Yeah, so my vision for the gym when we first opened was to create a space where we could better serve active adults and athletes, because I felt like there was a gap in the area on taking those clients to a higher level, serving them at a higher level, and being able to take them to where they want to go with minimal risk while being honest with them and also responsible with their money and being a place where they could really feel at home.
America has been shutting down in a nationwide effort to minimize the spread of coronavirus as much as possible.
Shut it down now, they say.
Ensure that non-essential businesses are not open.
The time that we opened the gym was the 1st of 2021, so that was right at the end of quarantine for COVID-19. I think that the biggest factor in us opening the gym at that time was that there was a lot of uncertainty around where we were at. So I was kind of working as an independent contractor, bringing my clients to someone else's gym, and you just didn't know what people were going to do. It was a very fend for yourself and do what you have to do to survive time. So I couldn't fault the facility that I was at for potentially shutting their doors and kind of leaving us stranded, but I didn't want to take that chance. So even though it seemed like, hey, all these gyms are shutting down, maybe it's not a great idea to open your own facility, I think that I would rather bet on myself in the moment than take a risk and have to deal with the consequences of someone else, taking care of their own family and kind of putting themselves first. When I told people the plan at first, to be honest, you would think that people wouldn't be too keen on the idea of a gym opening up during COVID, but I had a lot of support. My family is very supportive, my fiance is very supportive, and everyone was kind of like, okay, what are we gonna do next? Like, how can we help? I first walked into the gym once it was stripped down. So originally it was an Aikido dojo, which for those of you who don't know is a martial art. The guy stripped everything out, took everything down, and it was just a blank cement room. And definitely looking at that and thinking about the 3-month time frame that we had to build the facility out was definitely scary. But I think that at the end of the day, I've never been someone to shy away from a risk. So while it was a little bit frightening, I think that I just saw a new challenge and just had to move one foot in front of the other and kind of continue on a consistent path to get things done and make headway. There were obviously no real answers on when things were going to be opening up. It was really kind of a gamble for us to say like, hey, we're going to start building this out with a 3-month time frame and just hope that the quarantine is lifted. Luckily, that was the case. But yeah, we kind of really did this with no clear end in sight. We kind of just hoped that with positive thinking, things were going to kind of get better. I remember specifically just being like a month out and being like, are we going to be able to actually have people in the gym? I think that was the biggest struggle mentally, was just like, are we going to do all this work, put all this money in, and then just not be able to open? Because at that point, we had dumped so much time and money into the facility that if we couldn't open the first of the year, we were going to be cooked. And luckily, we were able to do that. As far as the logistical challenges that we faced, to be honest, I think that the town was really great and supportive, because you would think that at a time where businesses were shutting down, they were super happy that a business wanted to open. So when we went to town to get permits and stuff like that, it was pretty easy, honestly. It was pretty seamless. I think that because so many people were afraid to open, it made it a little bit easier for us to move forward. As far as building the gym out with all the restrictions and delays, it was a pretty easy process. The only issues we really had were getting equipment, so we put in orders very early. We made sure that we were really on top of things. The lowest point for me was just how much we had spent and just being uncertain about if people were gonna come to the gym. I remember a scenario where we thought that the floor and flooring was gonna cost a certain amount, but then we had to level the whole floor. I mean, you can't have people coming in for an ACL rehab with an unlevel floor. So that was a major expense, things that you don't account for. And really that will take a toll on you mentally, because you're really thinking to yourself, oh, now I'm in a bigger hole than I thought I was gonna be in. The pandemic obviously put a big wrench in the training industry, so we were kind of doing whatever we could to make ends meet. I was doing a lot of house calls, I was doing a lot of stuff at local fields and really trying to make things work as best as I could while still coming here to the facility and doing construction, doing all the things we needed to do to make it work and get ready on time. So it was definitely a challenging time, but luckily with the support of our members, a lot of them came outside with us and did their workouts outside. A lot of them invited us into their homes, and we really were able to make it work. So there were a lot of sacrifices that a lot of people made, not just me, to kind of get this place up and running. I mean, my dad spent a ton of time here building the facility out with me. My mom was here every night sweeping the floors. My fiance was helping out. And we really kind of came together to really get the place done. I think as far as I'm concerned, it was really just a time investment, but I think a lot of people really pulled their weight to really help me get it done, and I really appreciate that about my family. I think we have a very strong family unit, and it really showed. When everybody found out that we were gonna open during COVID, they were really excited. I think that for us to have a physical space in the works, they were very excited about. And that first workout, we had 10 people here at the gym. There was hardly any equipment, but everybody was here, masked up, ready to go. People just made it work. We got a lot of support from our members, and we're very grateful. I think the biggest thing that makes our training environment different from other gyms is our attention to detail. We want to serve the client at a higher level, and we want to make sure that not only are they coming in getting the community aspect and the camaraderie within the training environment here, but they're also getting that personalization that they need to achieve their goals. We commit to personalizing our approach to the client and meeting them where they're at. I think that as far as my personal story goes, I've competed in natural bodybuilding, in powerlifting, in jiu-jitsu, and I think that the biggest thing for me is that I'll never ask the client to do something that I wouldn't do, and if there's something that the client is interested in, it's likely something that I'll pursue at a high level. The biggest thing that I was trying to give people when we opened the facility was, for one, a place for them to be comfortable training no matter where they're at. For them to all be able to come here and be comfortable in that training environment is going to be the biggest thing. And we've had people who are brand new to lifting working out with professional athletes. I think that says a lot about the type of people we have in here and just our ability to serve everybody at a higher level. Realistically, I think the way we built such a strong community is by luck. I mean, I think that when you get a couple of great members that really support your brand and what you're doing, I think it makes it easy to get like-minded people in the door. So we've been very fortunate, and we've really been very successful with building a community based on the people that we want to be around 24/7. I mean, we have an amazing group of people that we get to spend our days with. If I could go back to the moment before we opened, I think the biggest thing that I would tell myself is just don't quit. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have days where there's nobody here, and starting out, that's okay. Just you have to put one foot in front of the other and just make progress in some way, whether it's with marketing, whether it's with getting involved in the community, whether it's just checking in on your members. I think that that's, the best way to kind of deal with the ups and downs of being a business owner, specifically a gym owner. If people can associate us and our name and just being around us with getting better and achieving their goals, I think that to me is the biggest indicator of success in our business.